on, guys? It's your boy Nate. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to jump right in. Today's going to be a pretty serious topic, but we're going to have some fun as always. Today's topic is going to be about why a lot of these alpha male types are leading you down the wrong path, okay? Why a lot of the dating advice is garbage, and why a lot of their success is short-lived, okay? Now, before I go any further, I just want to let you know that I do believe in a lot of ways that those tactics, that the ideology or whatever you want to call it, right? Red pill, alpha, dating advice, all this stuff, right? Some of it works, okay? But I personally don't subscribe to anything concrete like that, okay? You can take bits and pieces, but you can also take bits and pieces from old school traditionalism, from chivalry, from all these things, right? You can take bits and pieces and you can be successful with it. So we're going to talk about a big picture, but primarily we do want to focus on why all this stuff is just not as effective as it could be for most men. Now, first thing I want to talk about is the sort of self-made like bravado that a lot of these guys display, okay? Depending on who you watch throughout the years, goodness, years ago I watched quite a few creators. I'm not going to start naming names, but there were some bits and pieces of things that made sense, right? But we're going to talk about that and why it's not super effective, okay? So a lot of times, one of the biggest concepts you'll hear about in this dating red pill sphere is you have to be as masculine as possible, okay? Now, before people start telling me, well, yeah, I don't want to be a soy boy, I don't want to be feminine, I hear you. Let me put a spin on this though. A lot of times guys get so focused on being so masculine that they tend to forget about there's a time and a place. What do I mean by that? You have a lot of guys now who are trying to just be the part, look the part. They're trying to act super manly, and you can tell, right? It's like, personally for me, I mean, if you want to put it in perspective, because sometimes us guys, we don't really get things, myself included. It's kind of like women who reveal themselves a lot wherever they go, okay? It's like they try to wear the most revealing, most form-fitting clothing that they can find, right? Like, I'm talking like above and beyond. I'm talking like on the fence. You can think what you want to think. I don't really care, right? I'm not gonna look. It's just, to me, it's like, well, you kind of like disqualified yourself. Anyway, I have a video on that you guys can check out, but we're gonna talk about men today. All right, so on the flip side, you got guys who are walking around trying to act super tough, super macho, super masculine, right? They go over the top trying to portray this sort of like maybe gangbanger, sort of super macho, tough fight guy, loud. I mean, you can put a lot of titles on it, right? The problem with that, of course, is you can tell, but the flip side to that is there's a time and a place, right? It's good to display masculinity, but it's also good to have a fun side to you. It's also good to have a side that actually can connect with people and women. Because what happens is, guys, you start going out, if you really, really make that your entire persona, if you go out and you portray yourself like that and you are like that everywhere, you're never going to get the right quality of women. What I mean by that, you might go out with women, you might be able to get quite a few women, you might be able to get, you know, short-term flings and things, but you're not going to get anything truly fulfilling. And what I mean by that is, guys, most women, most good women are looking for a guy who can communicate with them, who can be funny, right? He's got to have that side. You got to have, like, if you're looking long term, you got to have that side, right? And some people get super into the details with this. They go off the rails and they say, well, you got to be 70% alpha and 30% beta. Guys, it doesn't matter, right? Get that out of your head, okay? That's a really crazy world to be in. A better way to think of it is you have to be just a well-rounded person. You have to be a well-rounded man. There's a time and a place for everything, right? if you're walking down, if you're walking down downtown and it's dark, or you're walking outside alone and it's dark, it's probably better to portray masculinity. At the same time, you don't want to make it look like you are trying to find anything to be a part of, because then you're just going to make yourself a target for guys who want to be or show that they're tough or whatever, right? Is what it is. When you're around your girlfriend, wife, or whatever, you want to be able to dial it back. You want to be able to, yes, retain confidence, but also be personable. Also be, you know what? We can talk. We can have a good conversation. We can joke around a little bit, right? You don't have to go on the complete other end of, I gotta just throw all my masculinity away. I gotta be a little soy boy. You know what I'm talking about, guys. You see it a lot on social media. I don't advocate for that either. There is a fine line, okay? I see a lot of dudes on social media, and you can call it an act or whatever, but it's, at the end of the day, that stuff is out there for everybody to see. You got a bunch of men acting like girls, which is really weird. Talking like women, acting like women, being wimpy, and it's just weird, right? It's really weird. So at the end of the day, man, you can do what you want to do, but that's going to turn a woman off, especially in the long run, all right? You just don't want to do that. You just don't want to be that. You want to be masculine. Now, going back to the point of the whole bravado thing, right? A lot of these alpha male people, they teach you to be like that. You don't have to be like that, like I said. Just be a well-rounded person. Stop overthinking things, right? There's a time and a place. It's good to be, I would say, a little bit more on the masculine side, but that's going to depend on who you are. It's going to depend on the situation. And I keep saying that, guys, because it's, again, if you're so stern and you're so like if you're hyper masculine, right, you're never going to be able to just have conversations with people. People are always going to think you're trying to dominate every conversation. Look at the most influential social men on earth, right? They have a masculine side. They also have a caring, nice, down to earth, joking side to them as well, right? Playful side. Think of it like you're trying to be like a cool dad or a cool uncle or something, right? You got to be the protector, you got to be the provider, but you also have to learn to be like chill, tone it down, have fun, relax a little bit, right? Doesn't make you less of a man. Guys, the next thing I see, and I've talked about this a little bit in my other videos, but is the money, all right? So I see one of the biggest things I'm seeing now, guys. This is crazy. It's really gotten out of control in the last 5 years. Again, polarization. We have equated a man's worth to his wallet. Now, there is some truth to that. You have to have money. You have to provide for yourself. You have to provide for your wife, for your girlfriend, for your kids, right? You got to be a man that stands on principle and can provide, right? You don't want to be broke. You don't want to be scrounging for money, especially if you got people depending on you, where you're trying to find a woman that's going to be a long-term thing, okay? But I see this weird sort of like, you got to go out there, you got to be a multi-millionaire or woman, women ain't going to love you. They ain't going to look at you. You're not going to go on dates. They're not going to take you seriously. They're going to cheat on you. They're going to lie. They're going to leave. Guys, I'm seeing this weird thing. A lot of guys are relying on their money, and I'm seeing this switch where, and I saw this about probably about 5-10 years ago as well with a lot of women, is they became very into looks, right? Women went into everything just matters about how they look, right? Women's entire personalities are based off of what kind of makeup, what kind of clothes, what kind of social media posts. It's crazy now, guys. I'm sure I'm not alone on this, okay? I'm sure you can relate, but when you meet sometimes on dating apps, right? You meet women and you see their pictures, they send you pictures of their face, or you see them on social media, and then you meet them in person. It's like, what? A lot of guys, get catfished, but guys, honestly, a lot of it is these social media filters and these apps. You can, change your photos and stuff. Back like 10 years ago when I first knew about these apps, they enhanced. There were some things you could do if you really wanted to get into it. You could like modify things, but now you have a lot of these auto filters and auto beauty enhancers, and like it's crazy out there, guys. So gotta be careful. How does this apply to men though? What I see is a lot of men, they're starting to catch on, and they're trying to invest everything they have into their looks. So that's the clothes they wear, that's the car they drive, that's the watch, the chains, the renting things to look cool on social media, right? A lot of these guys, man, if you see these guys who are having all these things and stuff, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying, like, maybe dig into it a little bit. Maybe realize that there's some weird stuff going on out there. Like there's actual studios that you can rent to make it look like you're getting on a private jet, that you have expensive cars. You can rent expensive cars for pretty cheap for like an hour, right? You pay like 50, $100. Sometimes you can rent a sports car for like an hour. A lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff behind the scenes. So you gotta watch out for that, right? A lot of these like alpha male gurus, they say, hey, if you're not a multimillionaire, it's like, well, the problem with that is you're gonna attract a lot of women who are just in it for the money. Just like on the flip side, if a woman's all about her looks, you're gonna attract a lot of guys who are just in it for the looks, right? Now the money's a bonus, like all women are gonna like appreciate that, but you gotta be really careful how you portray it. Guys, the third thing I see that's pretty crazy out there with a lot of this red pill stuff is this idea that like all women are objects. And this one really gets under my skin because it's basically the feminist argument that's just been turned around. Like most of these alpha male types, most of these guys that want to make you think that they're successful because they're, a 7-figure guy who has a semi-successful business and is an entrepreneur and does some cool stuff in his free time, right? They want to make you think that they're the man, but when you really start hearing about how they talk about women, it's kind of crazy, right? A lot of these guys are jaded, and a lot of them sound like feminists, okay? What do feminists say? What do a lot of hyper feminists say? All men are trash, all men are evil, all men are cheaters, all men are liars, use them for what they have, okay? You flip that around, what do men say about women? They're cheaters, they're liars, they're only good for sex, they're gonna leave you, and they're not sincere, they're not loyal, right? You're gonna have, obviously, those types, don't get me wrong, but again, if you're putting out there those things that I've mentioned before, you're gonna attract a lot of those women who are just in it for the external. And that's what we are at really as a society, is we've focused so much on those things that we're all about the surface, and we don't care about like what's underneath. I'm not saying you can't be handsome or you can't be a beautiful woman and have good values. I'm just saying that people are starting to catch on, and they're starting to use external things for their benefit, for their own pleasure, for their own gain. It's pretty sad, right? It's a crazy world out there, but guys, women are people too. And I talk about this in one of my other videos, but I want to make the point again here. A lot of these guys, man, when they're talking about, yeah, women this, women that, think about this statement. I heard about this one time, or I read it somewhere. It said that every relationship you have will be the wrong one until you find the right one. So these guys who are like, yeah, I've dated all these women, I've dated hundreds of women, or, they've dated a lot of women, right? And they're just like, oh, I can't find the right one. It's like, one, most guys don't have that problem. Let's just be real. Two, why is that? A lot of guys don't ever like take a break, take a step back and go, what kind of women am I attracting? Is there a pattern here? Is there a reason, right, for this sort of lifestyle? Okay. And third, like, what are they not dealing with, like on a personal level? Guys, this is something I don't see really anything being done about. Like, guys don't take accountability anymore. Like, we're just throwing everything on women for whatever reason. I really don't get it. Like, when did men just start to go, you know what? It's not our fault. It's women's fault. Like, we're the ones who are letting ourselves get with these women. We're the ones who are like basically validating women for all these things, right? Because we become so obsessed with this weird idea, which I'll get to here in just a second. But guys, women are people too. Don't get caught up in this women are just objects and maybe you're gonna find the right one along the way. That's a terrible mindset to be in, because I promise you, you will very likely not. Because again, what you put out, what you think, what you focus on is what you're gonna get back. If you think that running through a bunch of like low quality, loose women is going to somehow catapult you to find the one, you're crazy, right? There's guys who've done it, but those same guys will tell you, yeah, I wasted a lot of time, and honestly, a lot of it was completely unnecessary, and I wish I hadn't have. So take that for what it's worth. And the fourth thing, guys, I want to focus on really ties into that third point, is women aren't just objects, guys. Like, again, we become so focused on this weird idea because a few women have hurt us that we're just going to demonize the entire like womanhood, right? We're going to demonize all women because I got cheated on, because my friend got cheated on, because my person in my family, like, we take things to an extreme, and it's crazy. It's like we're literally fighting fire with gasoline. Like, we're just throwing more fuel into the fire. We're making things worse. We're like contributing to the problem, and there's no end in sight. Like, if you keep going down that cycle, it's like that's what is going to happen, right? If you have dudes who are just in it for the sex, who are just in it for what they can get in the short term, for maybe having a piece of arm candy, for looking the part, for, right? It's like the inverse of what you don't want in a woman, and yet us guys are doing it. We're doing the same thing. So it's pretty sad, guys. A lot of guys out there, a lot of these, again, alpha male gurus, if you really look at it, these 4 points we talked about today, they're all kind of spewing the same thing. Nobody's telling you how to find a long-term relationship. Nobody knows. Everybody's of the belief, like, it's only a matter of time. Give it 20 years, give it 30 years, give it 50 years. And there's so many things you guys can learn. And I'm going to keep making these videos because there's so many different ways you can find the right type of women. There's so many different ways that you can find good women. And it's not going to be focusing on being a multimillionaire or a bad boy. It's not. You'll get women. You can get women that way. Don't get me wrong. But that's not going to bring you long-lasting success. Guys, you know how many of these guys I used to listen to, and it's been years, but how many of these guys have said that, yeah, you know, if only I could find a good one, if I just don't know. You know, I hear every blue moon that they exist, but they're like a unicorn, and I just don't think it's gonna be possible in this day and age, and all this crap, right? And I'm like, dude, well, I wonder why. Like, you're going after the wrong things. A lot of these men are just man-childs. However you say that. A lot of these guys are just grown-up kids. Like, they think because they have a lot of money and a lot of toys and a lot of cool cars and that they're going on a lot of dates with a lot of women, like, what kind of life is that really? Truthfully. Some guys have convinced themselves they don't want kids. They don't want a family. I think a lot of that's BS, guys. If you can have kids, if you're married especially, it's like, why not, right? Unless you're just dead broke and you're barely scraping by. Like, why not? Why not, like, try to further your legacy? Why not try to, like, raise a child? Why not try to give a child something better than what you had, right? Like, why not have that? Blows my mind. Really, really does. But guys, it's just kind of my thoughts. 4 things that I think a lot of these alpha male types, these gurus, are leading people astray on, and you should stay away from them. But if you guys got any comments, you want to add anything to this, let me know below. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you at the next one.